In this video, I'm going to be looking at what I think is the best way to make money with your photography in 2022. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and take a look at my sales from 2021, and then I'm going to compare those to my sales from 2022, so we can kind of see which of the sites are increasing, where I'm getting more revenue, and where I'm getting less revenue. Then I'm going to be talking a bit about what my plans are for 2022 to increase my photography sales online. Now, if you're new to the channel, let me tell you a bit about my portfolio. I primarily just take photos during my vacation, so I do this as more of a hobby where I make money from it, and then I upload them online. I've been doing this for about 10 years now, so I've got photos online. I've got probably almost 1,000 photos on different stock sites uploaded over the past 10 years. Now, last year, I really didn't upload many photos. I actually looked back and I only uploaded 3 photos in all of 2021. So what I'm going to be going through today, when I talk about my 2021 sales, all of those were photos that were uploaded from previous years. Now, this is actually kind of interesting because you can actually go through and say, like, what happens if you have a portfolio on these stock sites and don't upload anything for a year? You know, how is that going to change year to year? Which is actually interesting for me to see because I've never done this before. Typically, I will upload, a couple hundred photos every single year. It was just this past year I was super busy with other things. I still took a lot of photos, but I just didn't actually process them. So I, really recently around Christmas time, I took some time off and started going through my photos from the year, and I was literally starting in January. So I started to go through January, and I am going through it now. I'm kind of catching up. I've, kind of allocating a bit more time to working on my photos, and I'm up to June now. So I will be uploading those more this year, but I just, hadn't had a chance to go through and process them. And the ones that I have processed so far, I haven't uploaded yet. So even though I didn't upload many new photos in 2021, I still managed to make $3,500 from my photos. Now, again, these are all photos that I had taken and uploaded to different sites online in previous years. Okay. First, let's go take a look at them by month, and then we'll take a look at it by site. So if you look at it by month, on average, I'm making $100 to $300 a year pretty consistently throughout the year, except for October. It really stands out in the list there. The reason is that in October, I had a company that come to me, and what they do is they have software that puts images on screensavers and on your desktop. And they came and they bought 65 photos from me. And I sold them those 65 photos, or licenses for those 65 photos, for about $1,200. So that was just, a one-off sale, $1,200, but it added to the $300 that I already made that month from my other sites. And that's why you see October being so high. So obviously it wouldn't have been a great year for me, or it would have been a significantly lower year for me if I had made that one sale. But luckily I did, and they found a lot of my photos really useful, and I made quite a few sales through that. And one thing to note about that is when we go through and take a look at the sites, that's going to be listed as, a SmugMug site. But obviously they found my SmugMug site, which is souvenirpixels.com. It's my own website. They found that through my social media. So, I see a lot of people like on the, on this channel making comments, social media isn't worthwhile. Well, I posted social media, again, I haven't done it much over this past year, but previously I posted a lot of photos on my social media, and it so happened that this year in October, somebody found one of my photos through social media. Through that, they found my website. On my website, they realized there's a lot of different photos they used, and they ended up giving me $1,200 to use 65 of those photos. So there are certain cases that social media can be very useful in generating photo sales, although sometimes it takes some time, and they're fewer and far between than the stock sites where you get a much smaller amount but much more frequently. So next we'll look at the other sites. So you can see that the number 2 site was Shutterstock. So Shutterstock was my second, biggest site for selling my photos after my own website. But it was very close, really like $1 off from Fine Art America. So, I have my photos up on Shutterstock. The same photos for the most part are up on Fine Art America. And, I managed to make about $450 from each of those. Followed up by Adobe Stock and Pexels. So Adobe Stock, again, one of the big stock companies. It's always been slightly lower for me than Shutterstock has, but still a pretty good year for that. And then Pexels, people ask about this all the time on the channel, but Pexels, you give away your photos for free, so anybody can use them for free. However, a lot of people will decide to donate, okay? And by saying a lot is, 1 in 1,000 or 1 in 10,000, but my photos, some of them rank fairly highly in the searches in Pexels, so I get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views on Pexels. So even that small percentage of people that donate, it adds up over the year, and it ended up being $322 in donations. Okay. As you kind of go down there, you'll see kind of the smaller microstock sites as we move along for that different revenue. Now let's take a look at what the change was between 2020 and 2021. I think this is the best indicator of, what the sites will potentially be good in 2022, because we can kind of see, how they increased year over year. So obviously, because of that one big sale that I had on my website, it was the biggest increase. If you took away that sale, it probably would have been about the same as it was in 2020 and 2021 would have been about the same. The biggest increase was Adobe Stock at about $100. So again, not a huge increase on that site. Actually, Adobe Stock had it was much lower for me in 2020. So I kind of just got back up to, what it was in 2019 in 2021. And most of that, I think, was due to their free site, right? One of the things that Adobe did in 2021 was they basically introduced a free site where you can download photos for free. However, for the photographers, you could nominate your photos to be put there, and the photographer got paid $5. And I had about 20 photos go up onto that free site, which equated to about $100, which is why my Adobe Stock went up. Okay. Looking at the rest of the sites, the kind of major stock sites, I think the most surprising thing here is that they all increased slightly, but the fact that they didn't decrease. Because if you think about it, I didn't upload any photos for an entire year, all right? So what I would have expected was, a more of a decrease in the sales on the sites, but they stayed about the same or increased slightly. I think that's because of COVID. I think, my sales were lower in 2020 already because of COVID. And so maybe, because COVID lightened up and there was a bit more traveling going on in 2021, they increased by a little bit, but then obviously decreased by a little bit because I didn't upload photos, and so just stayed about the same. So no huge shifts here in the changes. You can kind of see there, for the most part, I'm making about the same now as I was then. The one big one here is FreePic. FreePic, I don't really use it anymore. It was kind of like in 2020, I uploaded photos there for a couple months, and I made like $100 in a couple months, which looked really good. But after that, it went really downhill, FreePic. Another thing with FreePic is that I filled out a number of forms to get verified, to get paid, and they came back and asked me for additional paperwork. I don't know how to get this paperwork. I've asked for their support team for help. I can't get the paperwork, so I can't even withdraw my earnings because they're asking for tax forms that my country doesn't seem to give out, and it's just not worth the hassle. So FreePic did go way down. I'm no longer, uploading photos to FreePic. It just seems they're very difficult, and again, people warned me about this on the channel when I started uploading there, and I got some good results, but as it turns out, those comments are right. I probably shouldn't have went in there, but that's how you learn, right? By making a mistake. So I won't be uploading there anymore. Also saw a bit of a decrease in Pexels, but it was still pretty high on the list, as you can see from before, so there just wasn't quite as many uploads. I think that really just is mainly due to the fact that Pexels probably prioritizes newer photos more, right? If you look at something like Shutterstock, they're going to rank your photos high in the search engine because if they've been sold in the past. I've got lots of photos that have been sold in the past. Whereas Pexels, because there's not sales on there, they're always wanting to show new content. And so they're a newer site as well too. So probably because I didn't upload any photos there, that's why that revenue went down. So obviously the next big question is, what are my new plans for 2022? So the first thing is I'm really, I want to get back into processing my photos and uploading my photos and selling them online. As I mentioned at the start, I'm kind of behind on that, but I have been catching up throughout January. I'm up to June now, and I really do want, so I'll be processing the rest of the year. I took a ton of photos over the summer. I did a lot of traveling over the summer, and so I've got a ton of photos to process. So it'll take me a while to get through them. Within the next couple of months, I want to process those, get them online, get them on the different stock sites. Okay. However, I'm going to be doing things a bit differently this year. Like when I go through and I look at the sales of my photos, most of the photos that I sold in 2021 were photos that I took more than 5 years before. And my top photo, this photo here that I'll pull up, it is my top photo every year. It's been my top photo every year for the past 5 years. And I took it in 2012. So it's 2022. It's a 10-year-old photo, and it's consistently been my best photo, right? And, I can go out and take much better photos now than I was in 2012. In 2012, I had, an entry-level DSLR camera that I was taking the photos with. Now I've got a significantly better camera, because that's what I use my stock sales to purchase. So it's a better camera. I'm better at processing. I'm better at taking photos, but I don't think I can match that photo. The reason is that the way the stock sites work right now is they really prioritize photos with past sales. So it's much better to have a photo that was uploaded in 2012 that was an average photo than to upload a really good photo in 2022. And that 2012 photo, because it's been sold thousands of times over the past 10 years, it will rank higher in the search engines on sites like Shutterstock, and because it ranks higher, more people will buy it than going up and uploading a photo now. Now, there's obviously some exceptions to this. It is still possible to get into the stock industry. It's just a lot more work now than it was before. And the reason is because back then there weren't as many photos, right, on these sites, right? There was a lot less competition, a lot more people, there's a lot more demand to buy the stock sites because these were micro stock sites. It was something that was new. And these sites were growing much more quickly. But if you look at Shutterstock and, Getty these days, they're growing at an average of 5 to 10% a year, right? And so every new photo you upload, you're kind of, fighting for that extra 5 or 10% with a large number of other people. It's just the market has got much more mature now than it was 10 years ago. So what I really want to focus on in 2022 is looking for kind of new ways and new creative ways to sell my photos online and kind of to make money from my photography. The thing I'm really starting to realize too with the stock photography market is that it really has kind of stagnated. It's become a mature market, and there's not a lot of innovation happening anymore. If I look at what happened with my stock photos or the things that were happening with stock photo sites between 2012 and 2017, there was a lot of changes going on. A lot of increases. I was seeing the month-over-month, year-over-year. The stock sites were changing. There was a very competitive market. But what's happened now is you've kind of got the big players like Getty, Shutterstock, Adobe Stock, and they're just making incremental improvements. And other sites are trying to pop up. We did have some success with Pixabay and Upsplash and the free sites, but they just all ended up getting bought out by the bigger players anyways. So it just really seems that everything stagnated, and it wasn't that way back in 2012 when I started. But really from 2017 to 2021, there hasn't really been a lot of changes. And I think kind of the industry is really due for some innovation, right? Buyers, aren't very happy. I think they're somewhat happy, I would say, with these stock sites. There's advantages and disadvantages. I would say in general, you see a lot of photographers aren't happy with them. So you've got, lukewarm, happy customers or buyers, you've got unhappy photographers. I think there's kind of better ways that are going to come out, and there will be more innovation going forward in this industry. And that's what I want to, focus on, because the reason that I'm still getting sales from 2012 is because I uploaded my photos earlier on, and then I've just been making revenue from 10 years. I want to kind of look forward and say, where is the growth going to be going forward? And I'm going to try to get and sell my photos that way. And for me, what I'm looking at is NFTs and blockchain technology. I've kind of really, doubled down on doing a lot of learning over the past month. That's like one of the reasons why I've been so busy. And so I'm over the course of 2022, what I'm really going to be focusing on is finding new ways to sell my photos primarily with NFTs. So I actually have been experimenting with selling my photos as NFTs since past March, and I haven't had a lot of success. I think the reason though that I haven't had a lot of success is there's not a lot of there's really no NFT marketplaces set up that are really focusing on stock photography or stock photography buyers, right? So, NFTs, the way they're set up right now, and I've talked about this before on the channel, they're really set up for collectors, right? People don't want to collect my photos. But as you can see, people do want to license my photos. And there's no licensing NFTs out there. Not that I've been able to find. If you know of anybody, let me know in the comments, okay? Now, one of the good things though is that I know it's not out there right now, but I totally see that it's possible to create. And, photography is my hobby, and selling my photography as stock is my hobby, but my profession is software developer. However, I'm not a blockchain developer. I can't build NFTs, or I couldn't build NFTs, I guess maybe I should say, because one of the reasons that I was so busy in the second half of last year was around learning blockchain technology and NFTs. And I actually, between September to December, I went and I got a certification on blockchains, learned how to become a blockchain developer, and now I'm actually a certified blockchain developer. And as part of that, I'm actually working on an NFT that can be licensed. So my plan for 2022 is to go ahead, create an NFT where people can go through and license my photos through an NFT and then sell my photos directly to people, very similar to the way that I do on my SmugMug website. And I really feel that this is probably a better model going forward for selling photos. And, I foresee it growing. I don't foresee, NFTs totally taking over the photography industry and killing Shutterstock, but I do foresee that it will gradually be a better way to license photos, and it will take market share around from Shutterstocks and the Getty Images of the world. And if I can get in early, like I did with the stock companies, 10 years ago, I think there's going to be more growth in selling your photos or licensing your photos as NFTs than there will be just sticking with the regular companies. So that's what I'm really going to be focusing my time on in 2022. This is also probably going to influence the way that I, post videos on this channel. In the second half of last year, as I got busy with my course and learning and working on the licensable NFT, I really didn't have as much time to focus on videos. So I haven't done one since I think September. And even before that, I was really just doing one video a month going over my stock sales, and I kind of felt like they were getting a bit boring. So I will still post photos like this, talking about my stock sales or talking about interesting things that happen, but I probably won't do it every month. I think I'll probably do it once a quarter. So I'll do maybe 4 of these a year, where I'm going through and just kind of looking at my stock sales. And I plan on doing a lot more content on NFTs, selling my photos as NFTs, setting up NFTs, kind of some of the work that I'm doing, the results of that. So just, as far as the channel goes, that's going to be a change in 2022. There's going to be a lot more NFT focus. And, you may have actually found this photo. If you started following me in 2021, it's most likely you actually found me through my NFT videos. I did one NFT video back in March, and it was by far the most popular video of the year for me. So I know a lot of you are actually looking into the same things I am. So I'm going to be talking about it a lot more. If that interests you, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because we will be kind of focusing on that over 2022. Anyways, I hope you found this somewhat useful, and as always, best of luck selling your photos online.